Some stories don't begin with shouting. Some begin with silence. Mine began on a rainy Thursday afternoon, the day my mother refused to help my son, and unknowingly set me free. My name is Emily Carter, and this is the story of how a single phone call revealed years of truth I had been pretending not to see, and how the quietest revenge I ever took finally protected the only person who mattered, my 7-year-old son, Noah. If you've ever been forced to choose between your own mother and your child, this story will hit you where it hurts. The rain was coming down in sheets that day, blurring the whole world outside my office window. I had just sat down with a report when I got the call from Noah's school. "Miss Carter, Noah has a fever of 102. He's shaking and he needs to be picked up as soon as possible." My heart dropped. I couldn't leave work immediately. My boss was in a board meeting, and we were preparing for an audit. But I had a backup. At least, I thought I did. I dialed my mother. "Me. Mom, Noah's sick. Really sick. Can you pick him up, please?" There was a long pause on the line. I could hear her inhale like I had just inconvenienced her entire existence. "Mom, Emily, I'm not your nanny. I raised my kids. I'm not raising yours." I blinked, stunned, though I shouldn't have been. She'd said versions of this for years, but today was different. "Me. Mom, he has a fever. He's alone in the nurse's office. I just need you to drive 10 minutes. "Mom, I said no. I'm meeting a friend. Don't dump your responsibilities on me." And she hung up, just like that. I dropped everything. Didn't ask permission, didn't care. I drove through the storm like the sky itself was falling apart. When I reached the school, Noah was sitting on a little plastic chair, cheeks flushed red, legs curled under him, clutching a tissue in his tiny hand. His eyes lit up with relief when he saw me. But what destroyed me, utterly, was what he whispered. "Mom, I thought maybe nobody was coming." My throat closed. I picked him up, wrapped my jacket around him, and held him against my chest as if I could protect him from every storm that had ever touched my life. I didn't cry. Not yet. But something inside me cracked, quietly, deeply. That night, after giving Noah medicine and tucking him into bed, I sat alone in the living room, staring at my quiet phone. My mother hadn't called. Not to ask if he was okay. Not to apologize. Nothing. And for the first time, I saw everything clearly. The missed birthdays, the criticism, the emotional distance, the way she treated my achievements like accidents, and my struggles like punishments. A lifetime of small wounds suddenly aligned like a constellation. Every dot connecting to the same truth. She had never been there. Not really. And I realized something else. I had been begging for scraps. Begging her to love me, to help me, to show up. But the price of that hope had become too high. People think revenge is loud. Shouting, slamming doors, dramatic speeches. Mine was quiet. I didn't block her. I didn't argue. I didn't send long messages explaining how she'd hurt me. I simply stopped. Stopped asking, stopped reaching out, stopped justifying myself, stopped waiting for her to become the mother I deserved. Silence became my boundary, my armor, my freedom. For weeks, she didn't notice. Then one Saturday morning, she showed up at my door, unannounced, face tight with confusion and irritation. "Mom, why haven't you called me? I haven't heard from you." I opened the door halfway. "Me. You're busy. Remember? You're not my nanny." Her eyes widened. She wasn't used to her words coming back to haunt her. "Mom, don't be dramatic, Emily." But I wasn't dramatic. I was done. Me. "No one needed you, and you chose coffee with a friend." "Mom, I'm not responsible for your kid." Me. "Exactly." I closed the door, not loudly, but firmly, and that one quiet click was louder than any scream I could have hurled. 2 weeks later, my mother started calling non-stop. 10 calls, then 20, then 30. My silence was suffocating her. She left voicemails filled with a growing panic. "Why are you doing this? You're overreacting. Family is all we have. I miss Noah." Miss him? She hadn't even shown up when he had a fever. But guilt has a strange way of eating people alive. On the 3rd week, she arrived at my house again. This time, her eyes were red, her shoulders shaking. For the first time in my life, my mother looked small. "Mom, I don't want to lose you, or him. I'm sorry." My breath caught. Not because of her apology, but because it was real. And because I realized something painful. She wasn't heartless. She was broken. Maybe even more broken than I had ever been. We sat on the porch, not looking at each other. "Mom, when I became a mother, nobody helped me. Not once. I was alone. I was angry. And I guess I never stopped being angry." That confession hit me harder than I expected. For the first time in my adult life, I saw her not as my mother, but as a woman, flawed, damaged, exhausted from ghosts she never confronted. Me. "You hurt me." "Mom, I know, and I can't undo it, but I want to try." There was silence again. But this time, it wasn't a weapon. It was a beginning. My mother didn't magically transform overnight. She didn't suddenly become warm or nurturing, but she tried. She started calling, not to criticize, but to ask about Noah. She brought soup when he was sick again. She offered to drive him to soccer practice. She even attended his school play. It wasn't perfect, but it was effort. And sometimes, effort is the most beautiful form of love. One night, months later, Noah asked, "Mom, why doesn't Grandma yell anymore?" I smiled. "Because she's learning how to be better." He nodded like that was the most normal thing in the world. Kids understand more than we think. And as I looked at him sleeping peacefully, I realized something powerful. My silence wasn't revenge, not really. It was protection. It was truth. It was the doorway to healing, for me, for my son, and, shockingly, even for my mother. If you've ever had to protect your child from your own family, if you've ever chosen peace over history, if you've ever said, "Enough," quietly, then you know, sometimes the loudest thing you'll ever say is nothing at all. This was my story. Not perfect, not clean, but real. And sometimes real is enough.